Okay, I'm irritated at the moment, and that pretty much sums up how I feel about GoPro. I actually did a whole video, and it was kind of mean, and I want to do it again because at the end of the day, meh, they haven't turned off everything. They haven't completely abandoned the fact that people actually like to use their GoPros not perhaps the way they intended. Um, Certainly the industry uses them. But there's a new firmware and I can't get it without, divulging, registering, all this other shit. It's just not conducive to. I don't want a relationship with GoPro. Anyway, my experience with GoPro goes back quite a ways. Uh, I was an early adopter. This thing is nasty. This is actually, I don't know if it's the first hero, but you can see, like, this is actually a sticky, nasty mess here. And the quality of this thing was total junk. But, I was an adopter because, look, it even runs off of AAA's. And, anyway, it's nasty. Has not aged well. It was useless. It was useless. I used it a couple times. I got some really shitty video. Uh, Horrible, horrible, horrible. But gave them money because I wanted a camera that could go in quadricopters. And some years later, the Hero 3 with the Wi-Fi stuff, I really thought it might have more utility. Um, the footage wasn't that bad, I guess, but the battery life was horrible, and I don't know. I just in the end didn't get a lot of use out of this, and I probably paid full retail for this camera back in the day. It still works. I just don't like it. And then my dumbass bought a Hero 6 Black because there was a really good deal in Amazon. Um, really good deal for shit. I think it was 180 bucks, you know, which is still a lot of goddamn money. But the reason I bought it is because last year when they were selling the white 2018s, or maybe it was the year before last, and hardware was identical to the Hero 5 Black. They just castrated the firmware to not enable some of the features, which included like GPS and crap like that. Crap I normally turn off anyway, but I think some of the stabilization and other stuff also just wasn't enabled. So you could hack that firmware. I didn't know about it, but a friend of mine was like, "Hey man, I want to buy my daughter GoPros for her wedding so she can like, do stuff and go places and record things." And they're fucking expensive, but if I buy this one, can you do this hack? And I looked at it and I was like, "Oh yeah, I mean it literally I think they were just taking the firmware and patching in the the 2018 name so that the firmware would apply itself to that camera. So it looked pretty straightforward. So I was like, yeah, I can probably do this. Um, but when I messed with the camera, it I didn't think it was that bad. Um, the I don't know how to make this thing wake up. Duh. The stabilization was pretty good. You can see it here how it tends to stabilize. So like handheld operation wasn't not possible. In other words, It was possible. And then I like the form factor, not having to have the case around it. Um, anyway, I think he paid $199 for a new 2018, and for 180 bucks for Hero 6 Black, which I guess has an updated CPU or chip or encoder or whatever. I bit, and I don't think I'm gonna get a lot of use out of this anyway. Um, and it's for really dumb reasons. And so I don't know. I guess I'll just give you my perspective on things, and it probably doesn't match normal people's perspective. Um, so for me, the showstoppers of getting any utility out of this is, first of all, I don't like GoPro the company. Um, I don't like having to give blood to get my damn firmware. I'm sorry. I just think that's bullshit. Uh, so there's that. There's that mentality. There's the app for Android and stuff is pretty sucky. Um, with all that said, I don't want to put any app on my phone just to make my camera speak wireless. Like that's total bullshit and a dick move because, Android applications have tons of information grab possibilities, for all your information. It's just fucking ridiculous, and it's a big ask of a company to put that in as a requirement. With that said, you can actually get utility out of GoPro without ever having to load Android, and that is mostly thanks to one dude and others, but it's mostly one dude. Um, and so this kind of I guess my typical flow. If I'm looking at hardware and I know it has the possibility of like being cool, uh, I go on GitHub and I look for shit that exists for it. And you can see here you've got the Hero 4 all the way back to the Hero 3. Um, and historically, you've been able to communicate via wireless and Bluetooth, which more on that. There's actually some devils in the detail there. Um, but there are interfaces, and it seemed like somewhere around the Hero 5, things changed, and it changed how you communicate. But there was still lots of stuff. So anyway, I don't typically write Python, but there's still a ton of wealth of crap that you can learn here. So I'm just going to demonstrate some of this crap you can learn. Um, oh, and first of all, talk about I guess the most important thing is, how do you turn your Wi-Fi on, connect to how do you connect your computer to it, and how do you get around the registration process? And I say get around, meaning just how do you make this thing fucking act like a normal fucking Wi-Fi instead of not working? And it's pretty easy. So the pairing process. Let's go back here. Yeah. So the pairing process, pretty much. Sorry for all the fingerprints. Is you are going to set up connections and you're going to set up a GoPro app. It says it's disconnected, but it's actually not. Um, at this point, the camera, anytime it's on, and I don't have the Wi-Fi. Whoops, this interface is goofy. Yeah, if the Wi-Fi is on, this is where you turn the Wi-Fi on and off. So if you want to save your batteries, if you want this thing to actually be off, turn this off. If you paired it with something, the Wi-Fi is always going to be on. And the reason they do that is so that you can actually send it a wake on LAN request, so like a layer 2 request over Wi-Fi. So obviously the Wi-Fi has to be on. Even though the GoPro isn't responding to pings and things like that, it's still acting as an access point. And that is going to drain your battery. And that is the source of a lot of confusion with their app, because the app is probably communicating with the camera, or or telling it to turn on, and people are like, why can't I turn my damn camera off? And it's because the wireless connection's on and the fucking GoPro app is snooping around on their phone or whatever it is, So anyway, turn that off if you want it to be off. Otherwise, when the camera is on, it's going to broadcast. Once paired, it's going to act as an access point. And let's talk about that pairing process and what that means, I guess. So pretty much you go through the act of connecting the app. At this point, the Wi-Fi access point fires up. Then you actually connect to it. So like in my case, this is what my GoPro is called. These are my other access points in the house, which I don't use. I'm on Ethernet on my machine, but it's okay to connect to networks. Yeah, so you connect to this. There's a Wi-Fi username and password on this that you were given during the pair process, and so you just connect. But you're not done. You have to, let's see. You have to hit this endpoint, and I'm using curl here. You can just open it up in a browser, but you literally have to tickle this endpoint. This is the GoPro camera with like this weird REST interface. And once you tickle this endpoint, that makes the camera think it's paired, or it is paired. And at that point, anytime the camera is on, it's going to be serving an access point. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So you pair, tickle the endpoint. All this is laid out in the in this API somewhere. Yeah, so then you're paired, and then there are fun things. So like if you want to, let's see, this is streaming. We're not going to talk about that yet. Yeah, here, so like here is the endpoint that you hit to start the shutter. So you can do this with curl, or you can just open it in your browser. You can see now we are recording, and then to stop the shutter, we change from a 1 to a 0. So we just hit that endpoint. Now it stops recording. And similarly, the API and what you can do in Python, but you can also do just by hitting these endpoints. Like, yeah, this is sort of the obfuscated. I use the term obfuscated. This is the Python way of using the API and all the things that it can do. Somewhere in here, let's see. Yeah, fuck you. Somewhere in here. Yeah, sorry. It's not like this well organized. That's the API. That's the, what is this? Yeah. Yeah. So like here's a ton of endpoints that the API is hitting for you that can handle all the stuff. And basically you can set every single mode that you want. So you could either using Python programmatically tell the GoPro what you want to do, or you can just pick and choose some of the stuff you want to do, like shutter control. You know, seems like a pretty common one. But a fun one is actually powering on and off the GoPro. And this is really interesting because this is something, well, like I said, this is the core of the issue for things. Let's find it. Yeah, I think this is the command, or that endpoint is what tells it to go to sleep. So let's flip this over. We've got you know, the display here. I'm just gonna literally open this up in a browser. Oh, that wasn't found. So that wasn't it. Hang on. Let's keep looking. Let's try this. Oh, that wasn't it either. It's making me a liar. I lost it in my command history. I've got it. Auto power off. Yeah. Power. Oh, you son of a bitch. Seriously? Oh, history. Grep. Curl. Shutter. Yeah, something. Oh, look, Pornhub. Yep. That sounds right. See how easy it is? Oh, this is gonna drive me fucking crazy. Auto power off. Camera power. Default at power up. Yeah. Power off camera. Power off. Yeah, it's not going to be command. This is wrong. The new interface uses the GP control. Here's a thingy you can a one-liner. You can tag a moment. That's interesting. And using the API, you can only download the videos that are tagged. So you can do some interesting stuff there. Oh, here's the Hero 6 commands. Alright, let's see. Power. Here we go. Power off. Go to sleep. Here we go. See, we're totally turning off. This thing, for all intents and purposes, is turned off. However, that isn't true because what did we learn? The Wi-Fi is actually still on. So you can see that because I am still connected. See that? I am still connected to the GoPro. So what that means is that we can actually send it a wake on LAN command. Wake on LAN. Yeah, so this would be the IP address, which is always fixed because the GoPro is the access point. Meaning it, yeah, this doesn't change unless you really work hard to change it. And then the MAC address, which I discovered, you know, once I was connected to it. So I'm going to send it this wake on LAN request, which I think is pretty neat because this is a layer 2 Ethernet frame, right? That is normally used to wake a computer. So like an interface which has a MAC address on it can respond to a wake on LAN request, and then normally it would hear that and then wake your, you know, tickle something in the PCI bus or whatever and wake your computer, right? Even from a complete power off. So it's super useful for things, but odd on a Wi-Fi interface. So anyway, let's hit this, and there you go. So I promised this was off, and in fact, we can just hit the power button here. So I'm gonna hit this. Okay, so that's power off, LCD's off, and then we're gonna send another wake on LAN request. Makes a liar out of me. There we go. Look at that. So hands-free. So you can imagine you could make a little, you know, Wi-Fi remote for this thing, and as long as it DHCPs off of the access point you expect, and you go through the pairing process and you don't change the password, you know, that can work pretty reliably. And then if you actually want to turn this thing off and not eat your batteries, go ahead and either, you know, pull the battery or just go into the menu, buried in the menu, and actually just toggle the Wi-Fi off, and then it's off. Meh. So what else can you do? The device itself, where did it go? There are links, like you can just browse your, yeah, this little DSIM link. And again, all of this pretty well. I'll drop the Hero 6 commands, but you know, you may not have the same GoPro, and also maybe you like Python or whatever, but there's, you can find it all. The point is more the concept here. You know, if you want to change your white balance, you just hit that, or you use the API to make that call. But yeah, you can browse, and like, here's all your stuff. I like that they have this sort mechanism here. So that's kind of cool. Newest videos show up here, and I have done things like Python to, there's actually examples right in Konrad's stuff right here. All these examples, once you've installed the stuff, like download today's or download, there's one I liked. Take a 10-second video. Somewhere I did download only things that have tags in them. Yeah, this one. So literally, you can just put this in a Python script, and I think it was busted. I think these needed to be reversed for some reason. Whatever. I'm not here to teach you Python or to debug this API, but then I only downloaded the clips that I tagged. And so what I could envision is that you do your recordings and you suck at doing videos like I do, and so maybe you really nail it and you just tag it, or maybe you tag the start and tag the stop where you want to cut and do edits, so you can get your Pornhub links out of your video because you don't edit, you know. You know, just thinking out loud here. So there's that. Tagging, shuttering, meh. And then I guess if you do want to fool around with the docs, again, I'm not a big Python person, but typically I don't like to install a bunch of Python shit externally, especially from pip, and destroying my box. So it's important, in my mind at least, to set up a virtual environment, and this is just the Fedora way of doing that, where you're installing pip in your virtual environment, and then you create a GoPro environment, and then you source it to actually turn it on. And then at that point, you're in that environment, and as long as you're in that terminal, you can pip install to your heart's content, and it's not installing in your native system. All these libraries aren't installing in your native system, and you know, if you have dependencies that are available as packages that you know you need, you can install those in your main system. But for the most part, pip is either self-contained and or using, you know, just base Python libraries, and there's not a lot of that. But yeah, so then anytime you want to play with it, you just source your environment and then go play with it. And the only other crap that I saw, there was a neat constants file in here. We could look at that, and then you can actually just look at the API and whatever. Like I said, I'm not a Python person, and then this is like a very basic program, but there's tons of, you know, there's some examples too. So yeah, GoPro. So $180. You know, even with the Wi-Fi aspect of it, which I thought would add convenience, I thought I'd be happy with this new design and enjoy maybe the fact that I could handhold this and not have completely shitty video. Tons of noise comes through any boom that I've used. If I hold it with my hands, I get tons of noise in the mics. Using an external mic seems defeatist. Currently, you can't power the thing using USB and record. So like you can power it and charge it, but as soon as you hit record, it's running off the battery. So there's two huge limitations: the battery and then the just fucking crazy bitrate. If you want fucking crazy bitrate, then sure, but so many people think bitrate equates to quality when it comes to video, and this GoPro shit seems really backwards to me. You know, if I go from 720p 60 frames a second and I go to 1080p 60 frames a second, it's the exact same amount of fucking space. And then I go to 4K, which, oh, by the way, why would you want to do that? Because now you have no stability, no electronic stability, you know, and whatever. Anyway, and it barely bumps how much time you can do. Like, these are just idiotic settings. Like, there's no reason that you need 100 megs every 10 seconds for a 1080p video. And so a 32 gig card can barely do 2 hours video. And if we look at just the video I've done here, literally in my testing, I've only done, this was a very, oops, shit, I lost you. This was a 4K test clip, like 10 seconds long. This was another 10-second clip at 1080p. I was testing some low light and it looked like total ass. There's no reason you need a bitrate at that speed when it's going to look like total ass anyway. This is with 10 seconds of the Pro tune turned on, which extends the bitrate even higher. So we've only done 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 seconds of video, but the GoPro is already saying you can only do an hour and 18 an hour and 18 minutes. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, why can't I select a reasonable bitrate? And why when I have the frame rate, does it stay at the same bitrate? And why when I drop to 720p can I not do 30 frames a second? I have to do 60. And I can't do 240. So I can do 60. So like all they've done is arbitrarily locked in the encoder to these really idiotic values that in many cases are not useful. And like, this is Stupidsville. Like, why would you do that? None of these serve me, and I'm not going to download 32 gigs of fucking video for a shitty quality GoPro. In other words, they're needlessly wasting bandwidth. Needlessly wasting bandwidth for no fucking reason. I've built video systems, like I understand real-time encoding, yet you're not benefiting from this bitrate. Maybe under some extreme circumstance, you could make the argument that it is, but it's not. It's really not. So that's really dumb. And then like even on top of that, there's really weird shit like and I assume the app does this too. Oh wow, we lost wireless connectivity. It may have overheated just sitting here. Actually, it's pretty damn hot. Because see, it's still on, but we lost wireless connectivity. That also is a shit show. What was I saying though? Oh, so okay, so good on them because even since the Hero 3 days, uh, we've had this sort of weird undocumented API, right? That Konrad and friends have been graciously keeping up to date uh, and supporting, which is pretty fucking awesome. And I was making a video poo-pooing on GoPro, but the one thing they haven't taken that away from us. So this is a good on you, GoPro, for not ruining the fun that some of us actually have playing with GoPros. Um, the rest though is shite. And then in the API, and I assume this is handled, by the I assume this is supported in the app as well. There's really weird shit. Like you can transcode a video on the camera, which why you would want to do that, I have no idea. Let me see if I can find this. I can't find it. I want you to laugh with me. Oh, I should share what I'm looking at here. Where was it? Yeah. So even in the Hero 4 days, you could request a transcoding, and it kind of goes into the queue, and the camera's transcoding it, and you can kind of discover when it's ready, and then you can download it. So presumably, you can request to download a not stupid size file, but only after you've wasted all of your battery and space transcoding it to something reasonable, instead of just letting you set a reasonable bitrate in the first place. So that is kind of hilarious. Uh, and then of course some of the Wi-Fi shit, like I said, reading support cases and reading GoPro's response, and their website is total shit. Um, it's just a shit show. Like they don't even understand their own product, and and you're constantly seeing like lies about this Wi-Fi problem, or probably just the fact that I just overheated and lost my Wi-Fi. Like, yeah, I'm still not connected. Let's see if it's alive even. See if it came back. Like I'm gonna reboot this thing here in a sec. I mean, just sitting here, it's getting hot, and probably because I had it upside down, it overheated. Because normally it doesn't overheat. Normally the behavior of this thing is fine. Like once you're paired and it's fine. You at the very least have the convenience of downloading your large ass files over wireless. Although I don't think that'll serve you well. You're better off swapping out that card when you swap out that battery every hour and a half. So I understand a lot of people use these. I don't think I can be one of them. I think a phone does a way better job, way better compression, just as good quality. The only difference is you don't get that wide angle, but uh, even my Motorola Motorola X4 has a wide angle lens. Um, so I can't justify it. And I shouldn't have bought this. Fool me once, Shame on me. Fool me 3 times. I'm an idiot. Like, I believed in you, and you fucked me. So, I don't know. Let's hear it. I want to know people's thoughts on the GoPros. Um, I don't really have anything else to say, really, other than I don't imagine I'm really going to use this camera much. Maybe, maybe if I do some car driving videos, which it's not something I tend to do. It's infuriating. There's also like an update right now, and if you go searching their website for firmwares, it points you to old firmwares. But if you look somewhere else, you find the right firmware. Like, it's just a mess. And then you can't download it without giving your serial number and email address, which they don't need both. They don't need to be up in your business. Like, it's fucking ridiculous. I can kind of understand the serial number if they want to validate that you are downloading the right firmware, but like, how stupid is you? So I'll probably download the firmware from somewhere else, anywhere else, just to avoid that. Which I think should be my right. God damn it, And actually, the firmware too. Let's look at that, because this latest release. Look, oh, don't miss out. Look, sign up. Oh, this is an alternative firmware. See, their shit is so bad that alternative people write firmwares for GoPros. I forgot about that. HeroCast. Yeah, there's lots going on. There's lots going on. So let's do what a person would do. You see, I was looking for a fucking FTP site. Good luck. So you go to their shitty, really slow website. Nope. Product updates. Yes, please. Oh, I have a Hero 6 Black. Yes, please. Look. Oh, this is the latest one now. Okay. So this is the website where it does it. It shows you the latest. Lets you use your GoPro with the rechargeable battery. What the fuck is in my GoPro now? So are they referring to their overpriced external battery, which I'm pretty sure ties into the USB port, which might mean what this might really mean is this firmware fixes the fact that you can't run this thing off of external power. But do they word it in such a way that has any fucking meaning whatsoever? I'm pretty sure. Anyway, that's all they list. That's all they list. But you can't download it. You can't download it. Here they want your firstborn, your blood type, and your penis size, and then to agree to some terms. So, yeah, for real. It's just like, fuck you. I'm back. So my story goes. My story is a long one. I supported them. I got no fucking use. I got tricked again. This camera has not gotten any use. It was so flawed. This camera, I believe, actually isn't flawed. It's actually, hardware wise, it's pretty good. Having that stability stuff is pretty good. There's a lot of utility in this camera. It's flawed because they're dicks, and then they've arbitrarily got this stuff locked out to just unreasonable bit rates. And other than that, I maybe could find a way to get use out of this thing. This new format also, I find it really difficult to open these things. And then the external power thing. You can use an external mic also, and I have not explored that. I've read that you need to use their proprietary thing, but you know, ideally you'd want an external mic and external battery power. I don't even know if that's supported. Maybe with this new firmware you can then wire in an external mic and battery, in which case, you know, maybe there's hope. If they would just twiddle the bitrate to something reasonable, I think there'd be hope. So whatever, that's my review of the GoPro. I just wanted to share, maybe people don't know that you can control these things. When you buy a Wi-Fi remote, literally all that Wi-Fi remote is doing is pairing, hitting this endpoint, and then running the shutter. I mean, you can do all this stuff yourself if you want to. You could wire up your own little ESP8266 if you want to. Oh, yeah, one other thing. So there's a horrible flaw. I'm pretty sure it's written about by Konrad here, and I think, hey buddy, he's not actually my buddy, but I appreciate it. So, all right, during the pairing process, you let's just run through this real quick. I'm sorry, I'm rambling now, but during the pairing process, you are given the name and password by the GoPro. So there's the SSID, there's my password. Well, it's always a word and 4 letters. So pretty much you can just crack it. Given 180 seconds, I believe is what the dictionary attack took, you can hack it. And what's even worse, is you don't even need to do that, because you can connect to the Bluetooth side, okay, to any GoPro, and there are no Bluetooth on-off controls as far as I know. I haven't done any Bluetooth shit with this thing, but you can connect to the Bluetooth, get the username and password, turn on and off the wireless, change the wireless passwords even, but basically you just connect to Bluetooth and you get the passwords, and then you can totally do whatever the fuck you want. You can make a one button delete, pwn and delete everybody's content on a GoPro. Like it's a serious flaw. And it's because I guess in general, like the way we're all treated is we're the stupid consumers, right? And so they obfuscate all this stuff, and meanwhile they have this very useful API on the back end, but like as far as I know, well, to the API you can set the username and password, I think, but like when I tried to put this on my network, it didn't function. It wasn't able to connect to my access point. It did see it. I could make this act as a client and see the access point. That was kind of neat. In fact, let's do that right now, because that's, again, these are just using their things. Let's see, shutter. Let's see what he was doing here. Trying to decompiling all the shit. All right, so is this Hero 6 Black. Somewhere in here you can scan. Yeah. This is the Bluetooth side. This will start a Bluetooth scan. So basically you hit that and it's going to make it scan. You can also list devices that are registered. That might be something good to monitor, huh? This this is checking the status of something that's being transcoded on the device, right? This is crazy to me. But it all works. I mean, so there is that. Here we go, Wi-Fi. So you can turn the Wi-Fi off. Smartphone mode. I don't know what that does. Hang on. We're getting there. We're getting there. And probably I lost you. Oh, the voice commands are kind of neat too. Again, that's just going to run your batteries down though. From what I know. I read a little bit about it, what the chip was that was in there, and it might be, maybe it's not that bad, but it is additional things. You know, I don't run GPS, I don't run voice control. Um, it does kind of work though. What the fuck? I knew it was this page. Oh, setting the date and time, that's super useful. I actually kind of had a, yeah, the little example I wrote, set the date and time and did some other stuff. That's easier than setting the date and time or using their fucking app. Oh, streaming is interesting. So the API obscures this from you. But from what I can tell, what is happening is it you can't you're gonna ultimately access an RTP stream. Should we just power off? Should we try our wake on LAN again? See if it powers on. Oh. Yeah, we're not connected. Well, this thing's acting up. I think it's because I keep setting it upside down, honestly. I think the Wi-Fi chip is getting hot. Sorry, I'm babbling here. RTP is a real-time protocol. RTSP is a real-time streaming protocol. As far as I know, I can't remember if RTP has a retry port or not, but typically you would connect to an RTP stream, and that is what initiates the streaming of the stream, right? I've seen multicast implementations of that. A lot of cameras like this one. This one. In fact, I can just fire up. There we go. There's a RTP, RTSP stream of our live stream here from the camera. See the delay? Anyway. That's how it should work. You connect you connect and you get this beautiful stream, right? Gorgeous stream. GoPro does not work that way. First of all, it either doesn't populate enough info about the RTP stream itself. It is using an MPEG transport apparently, which that I approve of. They're probably sending a lot of null packets if they're sending the bit rates that they use because they're fucking useless. But anyway, this weird ass FF play works, but it won't work long. In fact, it doesn't work at all because you have to go tickle this endpoint to restart it. So it only streams for like a little bit. Let's see if this works. That wasn't it. I think it must be this one. Or this one. No, this one. Well, now it's making me a liar. Are we up? No, we're not up. We're not connected. What's going on here? It's still kind of trying to decide if it's connected. I swear I haven't had these problems lately. Are we connected? Is it because I changed it to 720p? All right, let's whoops. This interface drives me nuts too. Because it's like sometimes you swipe, sometimes you don't. All right, let's power off the Wi-Fi. Let's give it a rest here. The computer should lose hope. Let's cool it off. It really is hot. It's really not doing anything, but it's hot. All right, let's power this back up. Come on, baby. Fine, I'll power my Wi-Fi off and on. Okay. Gonna connect there anytime soon, mister? Oh, you're making me click on it. All right, whatever. So we're connected. Even though it's not pingable, we're now getting a destination port unreachable. That's because this is the gateway. So let's fire up that stream again. Nothing. I'm pointing at the screen as if you can see my hands. Nothing is happening. Then we hit this endpoint to restart the stream. Look, now it's happening. Look, and the delay here isn't horrible. You get some blockage here. You're also getting this low bitrate stream. But what you'll see is that typically it will stop. So if you want to maintain a live stream, pretty much you have to keep restarting it. I think it's after like 10 seconds. Yeah, there you go. So it's dead. So the protocol is kind of naked, even though it's RTP. And it's not like I delved into this much, but this is essentially what, what FF Play needs. Maybe this one worked. We could try it. But the point is you have to keep tickling this endpoint. So the API takes care of that for you as well if you want to stream. So you could, use this to check if you're in frame real quick, things like that. If the app is attempting to use this, you're adding overhead. You're adding both Wi-Fi and additional encoding overhead here. So I guess we could also see, let's see what happens if we start recording. Let's see if we can still fire the stream up or not. Yeah, so you can stream and be recording. So essentially you're encoding two streams right now. I mean, there's no reason the GoPro can't give me this stream, which looks just as good at a crazy small bit rate, for my use case. It's like, can you please just not make me have to use 30 some gigs an hour? And you get these little status codes, these little JSON response codes for each time you do something. So the Wi-Fi shit, yeah, you could tell it to scan for Wi-Fi. You could tell it to scan for Wi-Fi. That's the Hero 4. Oh, yeah, that's that. Oh, we are recording though. I didn't think you could access this while it was recording. I don't think you can download it while it's recording. Yeah, see, that's increasing. But if you try to view it, this is cool. You actually get a 503 response. I think that's kind of cool. So we stop the recording. Now we can actually access our stream. And that's kind of cool. You're playing this live off of the camera. And it is, yeah, it is a 720p stream. Anyway, let me stop rabbit holing here. Wi-Fi. Here we go. Access point settings. Turn it off. No, that's not what I wanted. Connecting to a Wi-Fi network. So here you can scan for available networks. So again, I think the API might handle this too. But so here you do a scan and you get a scan ID of 1. That's the response. And here you return a list of what it saw. And eventually, oh, we just lost our network. That in the past that didn't happen. And in fact, I did some testing because when I was on the 5 gigahertz network, it only saw my 2.4 network. So I switched to the 2.4 network to see if it would only see the 5 gig network. Oh, we did get a response here. And it didn't see anything. Anyway, it shouldn't matter which Wi-Fi it's connected to. It can still perform a scan. But in this case, we didn't get anything. So let's try this again. So we're going to initiate another scan. This will have ID 2. So this is probably what the API does in the background. And now if we ask for a result, yeah, there you go. So there's both my networks. That's the 5 gig one. That's the 2.4 gig one. So, and this is our scan ID 2. So, I mean, they have a smart interface here. They just limit you. I mean, who wants to deal with their app, and who wants to deal with them, and who wants these bit rates? I mean, really. I know there are people that edit videos. I am not one of them. I don't like having to deal with, 32 gigs an hour of video that only warrants 2. Like, why would you spend 32 times, 30 times what you need to? But yeah, the API is fun. If you have a GoPro, you can check it out. You're likely not to break anything. I did try to tell it to get on my network. And again, this is what the Bluetooth exploit does. Via Bluetooth you connect, and then you just, either get the password or you program it and tell it where to go. Or you can just delete everything, or, like, it's horribly flawed. I don't understand why this isn't a problem. I guess people aren't evil. I'm not either. I just think it's funny because on the one hand, if your product is actually good, you don't obscure or care about tracking your users. You openly give them the fucking firmware and you listen to your users. And GoPro, it seems like they lie to their users about, or they just don't have the support ability to tell them like how this is supposed to function, i.e. the whole staying connected to Wi-Fi and wasting your battery. I mean, this thing is hot. It is hot. We are going to run out of battery just in the time of this YouTube. I think we started at 80% or maybe damn near 100%. We're down to 30. We haven't even been recording. So this is mostly probably just Wi-Fi, but also maybe just from it being on. Anyway, I don't know what my point is. I guess I don't like GoPro, but I do appreciate that they've left this API in place. I wish they would give a little more flexibility on the use of the encoder, and then actually, I might consider using this. You could totally do a lot with this. There's a lot of potential and convenience for not just action cameraing. But certainly if this were outside your car, you could, you could easily deal with seeing what the picture looks like by just, having a little script that literally curls that endpoint, starts that stream, hits that RTP stream, and then tears it down. In fact, I could just put it on a button. I could just put it on a button on my damn Stream Deck. So, okay, I guess sort of this turned out just being negative again. So I'm just going to let this fly. But I wanted to show people kind of what I end up doing when I'm looking at products that I know might be semi-hackable. And by hackable, I mean useful. And I think the reason I get so pissed at GoPro is because they're missing the mark. They actually already have the potential to be worth more than the sum of the parts here, but they get in their own damn way. Starting the Red Bull channel or whatever the GoPro equivalent of that is, or trying to be what they're not. Just like if you're hardware focused, you want to sell hardware, sell fucking hardware, and don't be such dicks. I don't think they're doing well in terms of money, and I don't know how long GoPro will actually survive, because honestly, I get more utility out of like a $60 open source camera. I forget what that dude is. I've got it around here. That's kind of been my go-to, and it has a lot more options, and it's actually not as extensive of an API, but the battery life sure as hell is better, and you can sure as hell use an external mic with the battery, and like there's just lots of stuff like that. The utility is better. Meh, I don't know. I'd be curious. I guess maybe there's professionals out there that use GoPros. I would love to know how often people are swapping batteries. It just seems ridiculous to me. And believe me, I've funded I've checked out other cameras too. Like back in the day, this was literally the last thing I ever bought it off at what is that fucking store? Best Buy. Oh my god. Best Buy. I bought this camera. It was so fucking shitty. And mainly I just wanted to see if it was hackable. I knew it had Wi-Fi. It was an action camera. It wasn't a GoPro. I think I spent $200 on this years ago. I didn't mind the layout of this thing, and I think even the battery and stuff. It was not horrible. Nothing about this was horrible. Um, the interface is horrible, and there was no hope of automating any of it. But I couldn't return it without letting Best Buy literally take a scan of my like ID, my government fucking ID, and I paid cash for this. I'm not one of those cash people, but it's like fuck you, dude. Like, would you like to measure my dick too? Like, the whole reason we have people's information getting stolen is because people keep stealing our information. Like this is ridiculous, and you don't fuck around. Like the whole reason we don't have now I'm ranting, but do you guys remember when Social Security used to be on your licenses and now it's not because it's a security measure? But now we're gonna let people scan our licenses for the ID that's on that, the not Social Security. So that they're just gonna now we're just changing the number that gets exploited. Like, no, definitely protect your information. So I took a hit. Fuck Best Buy. Their return policies are shit. I don't return things typically. I'm not gonna return this to Amazon. I could totally return this to Amazon, but I bought it for the reasons I bought it. This thing, I ate it because functionally it wasn't a great camera either. So I really did want to return it. But Best Buy is a giant bag of dicks. But if anybody uses GoPros, and can justify the bit rates and the hours. I mean, I assume a lot of YouTubers use these. What's your thoughts? You know, you using the wireless remotes? You know, your battery life's good. Are you constantly swapping batteries? Do you use an external mic? Do you pay $40 for a piece of wire for the external mic? All right, I'm done.